Okay, we are live at the moment from the ICP&S 2015 Industrial, not ICP&S.
Industry Application Society meeting.
Oh, why don't you start? All right, I'm going to stop that. 3, 2, 1, go.
Welcome to the Industry Application Society 2015 meeting in Dallas. We're here to talk about our program for the Educational Healthcare Committee, papers and presentations at the Detroit meeting and beyond in 2016. So with that, I'll turn it over to Mike.
Okay, so just so it's clear to what Jim was speaking of, here is the Detroit conference. I believe that should be coming up here very shortly. There we go. And it is in May
1 to 5, 2016 in downtown Detroit. And this is a good picture of the Detroit water line with the Renaissance Center in the background and the rest of the Detroit skyline. Following are some additional pictures of our city. We welcome you with open arms.
So we're trying to get, one of the top priorities for this meeting was to get papers pulled together for 2016.
Yes, and beyond.
And beyond. We feel that because Jim and I and a couple others, the concept of the Education and Healthcare Committee originated at the University of Michigan. We feel responsible for trying to give it, let's say, a stage 1 launch, getting it out of the lower atmosphere and running it in orbit. Hopefully, it'll run on our own. Welcome. Hi there. So we passed out to others in the room the technical agenda, technical concepts that we'd like to see covered, but keep in mind that it's not just education and healthcare that we'd like to see on the agenda for Detroit 2016.
The Detroit meeting will be the second or third one where we will be running a third concurrent set of sessions, paper presentation sessions, and we want to dedicate that third series to educational and to healthcare subjects. And that's what we're going to be speaking about today, is trying to fill those paper presentations, not only in Detroit, but in upcoming meetings.
That's right. I don't think we're the only industry, or at least the only focus group in our industry that has to deal with more concepts that need to be explored than we have time or expertise for. What I'm showing on the screen right now is a list that we had, and I just updated this yesterday, that we've been nurturing over the better part of 2 years, and you can see that all of these topics, and I think there's a better part of them. Let's see, there's 2 sessions, at least this one, an A and B session, but I believe we're on the 30, so we have roughly 60 ideas that we feel we need exploring. Closer to the bottom is where the new ideas come across. I see a lot of the C-suite and a lot of the facility managers in our industry being charmed by Internet of Everything and smart grid and sustainable grid standards and concepts, and we'd like to disabuse them of the notion that they're going to get any immediate or even intermediate term benefit out of that. They're already doing a large part of it already, so our job would be, among others, to explain to the leaders of the education facilities and healthcare industry that they need to be mindful and probably look to this committee for some direction, because short of doing that, you'll see incumbent interests try to set the agenda. So we feel that our only goal here is to try to get as much value into our construction and running costs as possible. And that's what this platform is all about.
And Mike's comment about it, ingrained, what was the?
Incumbent interest is my generic term for manufacturers, insurance, labor, and enforcement. Yeah, those are those are typically the interest groups that actually pay people to come to sell stuff to our industry. Our industry has just a few of us, the people I lead, about 100, pushing back on the $300 billion spend every year.
Our committee is one of the main objectives is to provide the user interest on a lot of these committees, standard writing codes and everything else that are now heavily influenced by the groups that Mike just mentioned. So by developing a committee of interested users, we can start influencing these standards, codes, and other documents that force us to live our life a certain way.
Yeah, in a large part, at least half of what we do is preventing what we call green overreach. And so we have plenty of examples of that. I wish I could say we have something positive to say, but at the moment it's just enough to keep ASHRAE and maybe not so much NFPA, but other organizations that are rather well funded from selling us too much stuff. So the examples I use, you can go on our website, you'll see, for example, that building temperature sensors on top of every building, air temperature sensors on every air handling intake and every air handling unit, carbon monoxide sensors in practically every square of a suspended ceiling. I'm being a little bit facetious there, but it's not unfair to say that the agenda of many of the incumbent interests is to install sensing devices on everything in order to control prescriptively building controls. So what we learned quite a bit from that, though, we learned quite a bit about what the larger agenda is. And we're not trying to be not good sports about all this. We know that we're not radicals here. We feel that sometimes overreach is necessary.
Mike, I want you to put the headline screen back up. For those of you who are just coming in, we're on a teleconference right now speaking of the subjects we would like to present at the educational and healthcare sessions in the upcoming conferences. After this meeting, we're going to be talking to Giuseppe will be talking about ports.
You're welcome. As I wanted to follow through with you, Giuseppe. You're allowed. I'll set you up your website like this for ports. It's relatively easy, and we'll get Luigi to run it for you. Okay. But I feel that if you're going to have a good subcommittee, let's get you on solid ground.
So I want to ask if it's possible we organize this slide, this presentation. I will send you, or I have to ask how is possible to insert in the website.
Okay.
We'll be able to do that, yes.
We can do that too. No, I think if you're going to do ports, and as I say, I like the idea that the Michigan freshwater ports and the Italian softwater ports, they were talking to each other.
Yes.
Okay.
Also, we have Taiwan, we have Long Beach.
Oh, Taiwan, Long Beach. Okay, all right.
We can see.
The ports especially ports are a security issue too.
But also for hospitals. So Policlinic, Campus Biomedical in Rome, Gemelli is the hospital of the Pope. No?
Oh, okay.
So we've
got to make sure the Pope's hospital is safe. You know, we're on a mission.
But the port committee is similar to what the education and healthcare is. It's a committee to represent the users in these writing of code standards and guidelines, which right now is not represented very well, right?
Yes.
And it's very.
I repeat, it's a very big room. It was.
Yeah. Well, the scheduling, this meeting did not after Kent's attempts to get it on the printed agenda.
Mike, you organize this room too big. So your idea is $1 million.
Well, and I'll point out to everybody else in the room, okay, and I don't mind saying this, I may be drop dead saying this, that out of respect to Eaton, our industry rips through Eaton's entire revenue through all 6 sectors involved in about 6 months. About 6 months. So we spend twice General Electric's annual revenue. That's $300 billion. When you tell these numbers to the C-suite and the education industry leaders, it's beyond their, I think some of them get it, but the call to action doesn't seem immediate to them because in many ways it's a publicly organized or publicly owned industry, so to say, and they don't have the same economic imperatives as the private industry.
Why don't we slowly scroll through the paper topics that we...
Okay, so Jim, you need to...
I'll get back to you. Okay.
You need to get your cell phone off, Jim.
Okay.
Okay, so classroom energy, I want to make it, we can go over each one of these, but I'm just going to...
No, just scroll through them.
We'll scroll through them.
If somebody has something would like to speak to the item, the classroom energy is...
Yeah. Yeah, we are out of, I guess Kent reminds us that it's 10:07, we're actually around the room, so maybe we should introduce ourselves. I'll keep the camera off. We don't have a large turnout here. We've got about 12, but I'll let everyone introduce you. Go ahead, Jim.
Jim Harvey, JRH Engineering, formerly University of Michigan Hospitals.
Kent Saylor with P2S Engineering. Tom, the office incorporation power system engineer.
Thank you, gentlemen. I'm Mike Anthony, and I'm the chairman, I guess the founding chairman. Jim and I think Jim and I have been colleagues for better part
25, 30 years?
25, 30 years. We alternate being each other's bosses. And that's been kind of fun. We each give each other big raises. Yeah. So
We did?
we did. Oh, your boss didn't hear that one? Oh, you didn't get that. You didn't get that performance review thing. Anyway, some of you may know Jim and I were trying to spearhead that change to 2012 in the NEC, the one where we're actually able to get transformers down to the right size. I mentioned that because I wanted to give personal kudos to Eaton for actually having the vision and understanding to the point of actually putting cash out front to understand how very, very important that is to the electrical industry. And I'm not sure you're familiar with Bob Gianello?
Yes.
Great, bingo. Well, I wanted to touch you guys up for the other $5,000, and then we will make that project a joint, 50-50 Eaton Corporation, University of Michigan project to get it off center and get it rolling. What it is, if you don't know, is we believe that the 180 VA requirement, the 100 VA per outlet requirement has been causing vastly oversized distribution transformers. We believe that you're going to find, I have to say why Jen's here, and the chairman of the ICPS conference is here. So we have Wygen and Massimo from Italy.
Yes.
Italy is noteworthy for having a large amount of industrial, I think next to Michigan. I think, in my humble opinion, it seems as though Italy has a large amount of very skilled and talented industrial engineers.
With the exclusion of the president.
Well, no.
Yes.
Well,
With that exclusion, yes.
Well, I'm trying to understand that because many of you know my wife is from the Netherlands, and they're largely a trading type of nation, and so I use a lot of my references.
Right. Yes.
So
Yes.
when I look at the number of IEEE societies on that map last night, I see almost all of them are in Milano. Did you see that map? That was pretty amazing. That's right. So, and it makes sense because that's a manufacturing center, and so I guess that explains why a lot of the expertise, industrial expertise, seems to be coming from Italy. So I kind of lost my way, Jim. Are we still scrolling through our topical areas here?
Yeah.
Go ahead. Impedance grounding and medium voltage power systems. A lot of guys will levitate with that, but we have David Shipp, again, another Eaton guy, who's one of the first names on that. We believe that there's some reliability gains. We understand trade-offs, everybody, but we believe with better instrumentation, the phase-to-phase problem with impedance grounding of large campus distribution systems below the service point has some merit. We already have two of them. We have them at the University of California, Berkeley, and I believe we have one at the University of Washington. It's just fine. The limit fault to 1,000 amps and we can not only safeguard our electricians, but we can get some early warning of when power outages are happening on these large 200 building campuses downstream of the service point. So that's why that's high on the agenda, and we've been talking about getting that written for many years now. We've got to do it soon. So I'll continue. District energy, microgrids, hospital data centers, replacement of on-site generators with utility sources, utility tariffs for schools and universities, uses of intelligent meters, K-12 telecommunications.
If anybody has something they would like to say, either positively or negatively on these subjects, please speak up.
I hope it'll pique your interest.
Or even more important, if you're interested in helping put a paper together or a presentation.
So this is on the session.
These subjects are hopefully going to be the source of many, if not all, of the papers in our third concurrent session in Detroit on education and healthcare.
So are you going to put on so many sessions, or?
Well, they're marked sessions. Those are marked sessions, but these are subjects for the third concurrent session. We've been typically running 2 concurrent sessions at the INCPS, and we've been able to successfully fill those with papers that have been coming in. Now we're running the third concurrent session, and we're trying to solicit the papers on the educational and healthcare subjects. We might as well throw in, maybe we could get some port papers in there at the same time.
It's not a session.
Right. Mike used the word session. That to a degree is a little misleading. In my opinion, these are subjects that can be used to fill the.
This is a topic of interest.
I'm going to change this.
Yeah, topic of interest.
Topic of interest is a good way of putting it. So, anyway.
Well, I'll change the next revision. We'll make that clarification. I mention this because this seems to have been a topic. The federal government seems to want to dictate those rules for generator testing for hospitals. And I think there's a lot of gaps in some of their approaches, so that could be one that would actually have some impetus.
Can I interrupt for a second? Go ahead. You mentioned about generator testing. When was that we had that in the federal record about CMS wanting to increase the frequency of generator tests?
That's right. So they feel, so here's the deal.
Hold on.
Go ahead.
My reason for bringing this up is that if people have something that they see coming down the pike that from at least their perspective doesn't seem to make a lot of sense, we can post it on our website and get other people involved to make them aware of it. A lot of these things get published, nobody is aware of it, and the next thing we know, we got a code or a standard we got to live with. Well, and by Mike bringing that subject up, you got a fair number of responses that sort of put it on the revision trail, if not killed it, didn't you?
Well, it's as usual. It's a little bit more nuanced than that, but you have the main of it. So CMS says if you're going to use our money to take care of patients, then you're going to have your power system is reliable according to we don't want to carry those kind of losses. So that's what CMS comes in, and arguably, because they're using federal money, they're entitled to say that. There is a law that not many in this room know about, which is called the National Technology Transfer and Advancement Act, which says that the United States government shall defer to privately developed standards. And it's been given some teeth by the Office of Management and Budget, which says that federal agencies shall not write their own rules. They shall defer to privately developed standards. Those privately standards can be developed by IEEE, by NFPA, by ASHRAE, by ASME, any of the others. What I find there is that when you look at the text of the Federal Register, they're referring to IEEE standards and NFPA standards, which are not adequate. Almost always the federal agencies are 20 years behind. We can do better with leading practice or standard of care for generator testing, but it doesn't have to be prescriptive. And what you found was that we prefer reliability-centered maintenance programs. What we found is that incumbent interests want to have them tested every week. They would want them tested every day if they could, but they're being reasonable. We know that weekly fixed interval testing is good for enforcement, but it's not always so good for the budget across the span of risk in a hospital system. So long story short, IEEE needs to be the first name in generator testing, not NFPA. NFPA keeps referring to 110. or the federal government. And that's what we're trying to drive here, folks, is that unless IEEE steps up to the plate and reappropriates its expertise that has been now since taken to NFPA and ASHRAE, I don't know how we can continue to be thought of as a leading industry if you're letting NFPA and ASHRAE write the rules. That's one area. We found something recently. There's a couple other rules, but if you go to our website, we track a selected set of federal regulations which are deferring to national standards. And they're referring to national standards, but IEEE is not there in the ones of the federal government. NEMA's there, NFPA is there, ASHRAE is there. IEEE is not there.
So does anybody care to rebuttal or add to that?
Well, when you talk about hospital, are you talking about the large hospital or university-related hospital or general?
The issue, the way it was written in the federal record, was for all hospitals.
Okay.
The way I read it, it's been a while, but the way it was written, it seemed to be for all hospitals.
Yeah, right now, the basic rate, I'm working with Indian Health Service. So it basically tries to build a health service facility inside the Indian reservation.
Say it again.
Basically the health service inside the Indian reservation in the United States.
Okay, but what?
So does that belong to the United States or different?
Indian reservations?
Indian reservation.
Native American.
Native Americans.
Okay, that's an Indian nation.
Or if it were Canadian, it's First Nations.
Okay.
But anyway, the way that federal record item was written, it was for all hospitals. It wasn't Indian reservations. Again, this was at least 9 months ago, wasn't it, Mike?
Well, a couple of years ago, and frankly, I don't have the resources to rebut.
So we try to build a method free inside the Indian reservation.
Did
Okay.
you?
Okay. Well, I noticed that a lot of federal regulations, including utilities, always give Indian reservations, or whatever you call them, special dispensation.
Yeah.
So we're respectful of that.
Basically, does it apply to?
Well, it doesn't apply to the issue I was speaking of, but we got off on this tangent, which was a good tangent, by just saying that if anybody sees or hears of new code standards, recommended practice, or federal regulations coming down the pike that we can have an influence on, we can post it on the E&H.
No, we see them. We see them. What we need are people with data, people with the pedigree to make a difference in the argument.
Say something.
Right. And there's enough people in this room and across the nation and across the world that look at this site that can give us the information we can need to rebuttal some of this. We can't simply say we don't like it. We got to have some kind of reason why we don't like it.
Well, how much are we going to own up to the promise of that 10-minute video clip? There's a lot to do, no question about it. But as we try to say over and over again, we're the largest non-residential building construction in the industry in the United States. Education builds $80 billion worth of new square footage every year. That's the equivalent of Microsoft Corporation. We spend twice as much as General Electric's annual revenue across all of their sectors a year. We're twice the size of General Electric. Will somebody grasp that, knowing that how little it takes by comparison to get a lobbyist in Washington, to get a contractor, to go to a trade association, wash their concepts through, which amount to market making. And that's allowable in the federal system. It's allowable in the federal system. It's better than having summer interns writing rules. Go ahead.
Do you have any figures on, is the education and healthcare market in Italy as predominant as Mike sees it in the U.S., or do you know?
No, Italy is about the size of the California economy, about 1.2 trillion.
I understand, but on a basis of percentage of the economy. That's what you're referring, aren't you, Mike?
No, I think there tends to be fewer campuses. I'm mistaken. Sapienza accepting, I believe that in Europe, those educational institutions evolved around within cities. I know in Leiden, so there's not defined campuses as we know from land grant institutions. So that's how you can start out and lay out a 100 megawatt campus power distribution system like at Michigan State, whereas you were working interstitially within the buildings. So, I mean, there's not one service point. Our point in this is also to define the power system, a campus power system code. It's the code that applies between the service point and the utility. These are large numbers of, I'm trying to define what a campus power system code would look like. We'll start with an RP, but to answer your question, I don't think you do.
The mission of this code has been to make the innovation in the mentality and so organize microgrid. Yes, this is the role, the university, the city of the university. There is near in a new adjacent area, there is the polyclinic, is with about 60 buildings for hospital. So I think it's very important to introduce the idea of the microgrid for the hospital, big hospitals, because we have in the Sapienza, we have a polyclinic Umberto I. In the Catholic University, there is Gemelli, it's very famous, it's very important polyclinic. And there is also the campus biomedical, is another big hospital, is organized with very many buildings. And so it's a necessity to have a grid, real grid, but the problem, effectively, there is a paper that will appear in the magazine in the next month, in January, February, IEEE magazine. There is a paper that discusses about the Italian hospitals complex, and will show how in the clinic of Umberto I of the Sapienza, there are 3 delivery points and a big solution of the network. But this network are 3 areas separated, are not connected, are not smart, is not organized. There is half substation are of the university, half are of the utility. So there is a confusion in the management.
All right.
So there's a lot of, I think a lot of campuses, even in the U.S., will have several service points, and they own everything downstream of the service point, just like that. The university over history, the land, how the land's acquired, how it develops, what programs get money to build buildings. So I think something similar happens. So it's probably more common the case. Well, we have a north and a central campus and a hospital campus. Those are 3 pieces. So it's when we conceive of a campus power distribution system, I think it accommodates that within one university, there may be essentially 3 or more
Substance.
There may be 3 or more 50 megawatt distribution systems.
Can I interrupt just a little bit? You mentioned it was a paper, and the subject of the campus distribution is one of the subjects we really want to develop, so thank you very much for bringing that up. But should we get back to our list and just...
Sure, we'll tear through this. You actually have a copy of it right here. You have hard copies of it. I'll let others...
Do all of you have a copy of the papers?
This hasn't been passed around.
Yeah, so if you want to pass that around, you can see what we have. So the next revision of this we'll call subject matter areas. And I think I started to say earlier that we're not the only industry with more ideas to be discussed and solved. We may decide what priority we need. I'm suggesting that the creation of a campus power code should be the higher priority. But Jim reminds me that through the IEEE system, that it's probably better to start with a recommended practice. So fully realize a campus power distribution code would cover everything that the National Electrical Code does not. It would certainly reference everything happening there. But for a large 100 megawatt distribution grid, which arguably some will say is actually premises wiring, those concepts would be below the National Electrical Safety Code, which is an IEEE document, but above, so to say, the NFPA 70 suite. And those are large systems. They're customer owned. And there's been a need over the past many years, most of my career, to say, well, to what degree do we borrow NESC concepts? Well, I think we've actually done fairly well there, but the idea of going to resistance grounding, the idea of using aluminum cable for medium voltage distribution, and then making these all smarter. Every university, and I think Wygen can speak to this, every dean is out there trying to hunt for faculty that can get some of that federal smart grid money. Am I mistaken?
Well, smart grid money is dried out.
Well, the smart grid money is dried out?
It's basically dried out, yes.
And
Because it's an overpromise.
under promise. Yeah, so now remember, this is a recorded line. That's right. You and I had private conversations, and I'll summarize it because this is recorded. That this is what happens when you get concepts in front of politicians that are a little short on the technical specifics. Arguably, I've made the argument that most large universities like University of Texas, which is yours, and even Sapienza's, is one that already has a fair amount of smart grid concepts in there already. We are already controlling a large number of our distributed central chiller plants through our building automation control systems. So that's an opportunity, I think, to convey some of what we've learned in campuses into this whole smart city zeitgeist. Yep.
So you cannot tell people that all the grid is a dumb grid, and then one day we invent the term smart grid, everything becomes smart.
Even people.
Yeah, you're wording.
May I add just something? I'm really intrigued by district energy.
Yes.
If you'll be kind enough, we'll have a paper on district energy, which is applicable to campuses, but also to city.
Well, that's
the electrical safety.
Yeah.
Of the district energy.
You bring a good point, but not before we get the sizes of our, my agenda is to get the sizes of transformers within buildings taken care of it and beat out all the wasteful behaviors at the utilization point before we start overlaying larger concepts. So, but I agree with you. There's another issue having to do with the International District Energy Association. I know they're listening to this, so this is a respectful discussion with them, is that they're not standards developers, and that's probably for a good reason. But their business model really allows them to not do anything, but to be in the space and to draw all the expertise, which is large in mechanical engineers. So I would argue that they believe that we need more electrical engineering expertise in district energy systems. And you're the perfect guy for it.
And actually, to give you the summarize of our findings, we discovered the water, high temperature water, inside the pipe, district heat energy. Unlike other materials, hot water becomes more conductive. Being more conductive will short the joints. And now we have the problem of the latent potential, so we can transfer potential. Please be at the session, we'll discuss if you're interested.
I am interested. That's a big deal. Yeah.
So without the expertise of what you call electrical engineering, we are open to liability. Because a fault at the district energy level station will transfer to all the houses, an entire city or an entire campus instantaneously.
Okay.
The problem of the transfer potential.
Okay. So, should IEEE own that concept? Should electrical engineers, or should IDEA or ASHRAE? Because at the rate ASHRAE, with the most ferocious regulatory, it should be IEEE.
Yeah.
IES.
Because this is, you heard the president. Safe, reliable, economical installations.
Safer, simpler, lower cost, longer lasting. Yeah.
But this safe, the district energy at the moment is not safe.
Okay.
Sorry to say that.
That's what we get to fix that then.
Oh yeah.
Okay, more of a driver, because these large district energy systems will tend to be, and in many cases, they're minting them as renewable. I'm not sure if you want to call them that, but they certainly use the energy better. Giuseppe?
I think the discussion on the hospital has to be very serious. And so renewable energy over the smart idea are fundamental but additional to the discussion of the hospital. The hospital, the first interest exigency is there of the people. So we cannot make a discussion about economic saving if you have to take care of the health of the person. And so I think is the real priority of the power system of our hospitals has to be the service continuity to understand that the management, the maintenance of the power system is a very big priority. And so smart has to be the management, smart has to be the approach to understand that the exigency of the earth are to be so seen in the complexity globally. So I want to say, if you have the management, administrative, medical of the hospital, the same in coordination has to be the global management of the power system. And so cannot exist difference of
That's right.
conditions, because if I depend on the organization of the, for instance, polyclinic the organization of the power system is dependent of the utility. It is not correct, because if you organize your exigency, you organize your work of maintenance to repair some out of the service, you have to have a global vision, you have to decide the coordination between the necessity to make operation and surgical operation and to stop the power system guaranteeing the safety of the operators. So I think this is a good point. The hospital or all are industrial. The management, the operation has to be global. And maintenance is important, very important. It is a priori. And generally, you can find in the hospital, in Italian hospital, worldwide, the level of the electrical engineer is not very high. It's not adequate to the complexity of the system. So you can have very important power system, but it's not possible to manage. It's inadequate.
We've always disguised
We
the.
have to change the mentality and can understand that the responsibility of the power system has to be in the technical person and not the doctor. Because the doctor don't have the sensibility. So, we can say, doctor, the responsibility has to be competent. And so, for administrative, it's very important and competent. Medical has to be a doctor. Technical has to be a technical. No architect, no civil engineer for technical.
So what you've described is a common lament, which is that we have maintenance. We can solve most of our reliability problems with maintenance. Half of our termination problems, for example. But I've always felt an ambivalence within IEEE to get into money aspects, and I'm hoping Wai-Jen can say something about that, because fundamentally, we're not really doing anything, we're not doing rocket surgery in this committee, admittedly. We're trying to use our money more effectively.
You know, the basic rate of line with the formation of the two itself. And we try to see the sustainability of this two subcommittee. Okay, we do have a power system analysis subcommittee. We do have a power system design subcommittee. So to try to, and also have a product design. Okay, so we try to look at it. Okay, we have two spatial area. We basically form a subcommittee. Then to make the subcommittee sustainable is identify what's the difference between the general setup and this particular setup in the education or in the port facility. So this is the basic grid. If you try, we will try to establish this specialized area, then we can identify what are the differences. No.
Mike, can you repeat, please, when is the subcommittee meeting?
I think it's easy.
Oh, you know? When is our subcommittee meeting for healthcare facility?
Right.
Is this?
This is the,
Oh, okay.
We meet 4 times a month.
no, but
Yeah,
there's been high confusion on the official time.
Because
how can we make this is a sustainable development? Okay. And the way we try to look at it is, okay, what's the spatial requirement? Okay, just like we have the White Book, historical, okay? And for the whole area, what are the spatial requirements? Then you try to identify that one, then make the subcommittee sustainable. Okay, otherwise we have a power system analysis, we have a power system design, we have a grounding subcommittee to take care of all the problem, why we need this subcommittee.
I think, if I can,
Go ahead.
I think it's very important that in collaboration, coordination. So I think for port, for healthcare, has to specify the decisions and to coordinate with the other two companies. Say, we have this special problem, and we take care of this problem, but we have to coordinate with the, we are the same people, so
You have a big umbrella over there, and then how you basically using the spatial need.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the niche for this subcommittee.
Yeah.
Otherwise, basically we don't need this.
We don't need this committee. It's fair.
No, because it's an error to make duplication. Well, no. I think the problem is we have to choose the very special exigency, the priority, and we say, please help us. We have to change the mission for general problem, for general building. Is not mandatory to have the community of service or other problem in nothing to sometimes suggesting the hospital to organize biological energy or photovoltaic. I think it's not a priority in the hospital. In the hospital, you have to take care of the health. And so, if you have a few million of dollars to have to spend in the health and not in the energy saving. Energy saving is a priority, but it's not very essential for the hospital.
Yeah, I understand.
And so we need to choose the special efficiency and to have the help of all the people. I think ICPS is unique. Only has to cooperate. Also, the problem of maintenance, federation, and safety is a specialized report, specialized in hospital. But we have to select and to highlight the exigency.
Yeah, that's my point. You know, basically, how are we going to identify the uniqueness or the need for this area?
Yeah, it's cross-cutting. What we're doing here is we're taking the normal.
The ICPS should know about this. Sorry, Mike.
Yeah, go ahead.
We need to report this and put in our meeting minutes that there is in place indeed a coordination between subcommittees. Otherwise, it makes no sense that nobody knows what the others are doing.
Yes.
So for you, the best place to report all this is in the NCPS meeting. We put it in the minutes, and we are good, so everybody knows.
That's an administrative part that
Yes.
we got.
The logistic is this.
Relying on these guys to tell me.
Because you can't report to NCPS about all these meetings, because he's the chair of this.
Well,
And NCPS will put it into the record. So we gotta give proof also to IS, to the board, that.
Okay. Well, I will tell them, I warn them, that other organizations like ASHRAE are cross-cutting across these technical silos, and we're riveted. So when you talk about all these different committees, we're slicing right across them, and that's what makes them successful, and that's how we'll fail unless we do that. Go ahead.
Yeah, when we look at this one here, it's basically getting to the IAS code. Then if people ask you why do you need this kind of subcommittee?
Yeah, they will
Where
ask you.
are the niche? Because we do have a power system analysis, we do have a power system design, we do have a grounding, we do have a reliability subcommittee. Okay, so what are the niche on the education and the hospital and the port area? What are the differences?
From an end user's view, I can give you an example of what the point you were trying to discuss. Yes, we do have all these committees that makes that does a lot of studies of different kinds. And take the ground, we talk about solid ground, high resistance ground, whatever you, or underground system, which is all good, that's good. But when it comes such as a corporate petition, it's a good idea to take a look at everything that's available to us, technically, and also practically, where we say there's no maintenance and all that. And then try and make a recommendation. For the board, this is what we want for the county. Not all these variations.
Specific.
That's where I think the difference is going.
That's what our agency should pick up
And this is the way the board operates. And this is the recommendation because of it.
I think also would be interesting to mention to the board that it may open the door to new standards. If
Yes.
we, in a couple of years, we agree, we can put together a standard. IEEE is all about standards. So the subcommittee might be the propulsion to create new business for IEEE.
We need to get our distribution code.
Yeah.
I think there are two things we need to look at. These standards has defined high resistance grounding, ungrounded system, low resistance grounding system, and then solidly grounded system. The question in the mind of the application people like Ben is saying, why we should be using grounded system solidly for a crane when the fault current can be limited and the protection relays can work. This is one question. The reason is that person like Ben is trying to solve his problem because there has been confusion. The bottom line is that somebody has to look at the power system. What kind of loads are there, and what would happen to the load if we use this system, this system, this system? In other words, this puzzle has been there, like hospitals, they will say, I don't want to see fault current more than this. In some place, mining industry said that I have this portable unit here, 200 feet away from my power source. I want to have a low resistance under amps, which is even in the standard and in their normal practice. So the question is, they want to make a practice from their system.
That's right. As I point out, my industry is
Mike.
about 20 times the size of the mining industry. Let me tell you that hospitals are generally designed according to NFPA rules.
Yes.
NFPA is all solid grounding.
Yes.
We're saying once you scale up to a campus power distribution system,
Yes.
utilities have high resistance grounding systems.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
They have a whole scale, a whole continuum of how they control safety reliability with the grounding regime.
Yes.
But your average bear AE, he gets a nice $100 million building contract for a hospital or an addition.
Yeah.
He doesn't do that. He goes to the NFPA.
Yes.
Meanwhile, you're installing less reliability
Mike.
in a system that, in the leaders in the
Mike.
industry, they tend to not want to do anything different than what an NFPA does. And I'm saying IEEE should be telling them that. NFPA is fire guys. They're not
All right.
electrical guys.
Can I, son?
Yeah.
Can I just go back to the question that Wei Jian was bringing up about why this subcommittee? I've been in this organization for about 35 plus years, and educational facilities are hardly, if ever, talked about. Healthcare issues are hardly, if ever, talked about. We had a white book. If you look at the P3000 series, how much of the white book is being incorporated into any of the P3000? Minimal. Although we have the design subcommittee, the analysis subcommittee, and the grounding subcommittee that should take care of all these areas, in my opinion and observation, it hasn't been happening. So by forming this committee, we bring focus to select areas that from us those of us who've been trying to organize this see a lack of interest in those items, those subjects. But more importantly, we've been trying to find more ways to get more people to work with us. And Mike made the point is that if we have a committee called Education and Healthcare, it may be easier for engineers working in engineering, education and healthcare to go to their bosses and say, there's a committee here that is dedicated to working with our types of issues, and they might be able to get the support they need to come and work with us on existing standards, but as was mentioned over here, writing new standards. Many of these subjects that are up on the list here are subjects for possible new standards in the long run.
So for example,
I just wanted to reiterate, because I was hearing, what I was starting to hear is why have this committee at all? We already got the issues covered.
well, I'll add to that is that we've already got Bob Sugar working on reliability-centered maintenance programs. And the trouble is that the federal governments are going to the fixed interval testing. Those ideas are being sold by incumbent interests. Let's do fixed interval testing across all, and because their lobbyists get to the feds before ours do, or they're not even deferring to IEEE, because we're more or less missing in action with respect to this facility class, which is about 16% of the U.S. economy.
I think make this observation because this is a very inclusive discussion because after we discuss about the reports. So we have to change the mission of the subcommittee because we have to, my opinion is to have the subcommittee very dynamic, no static. And so we have analysis, subcommittee, protection, grounding, design are basic. But the subcommittee has education care of forms has to be like I said, the applied application, special application that can make the highlights the exigency, particular exigency, it can promote new studies, new research for the basic subcommittee. Obviously, it's not important. The boards has some special exigency, special sizing, special activities. It can be a reference point for the other.
I'll give you a simple example of maybe it summarizes all. For instance, when the courts talk about, and also the subcommittees talk about a variety of application, such as grounding system we're talking about. In a court, let's say I believe it should be high resistance service only. None of this low resistance and none of this just visualize it. When I go out and like we were talking about the architects involved and all that, and I say, it must be this one. Somebody is going to say, well, the code allows it this way. IEEE allows it that way. There are all these studies. Then there's no value in that. It ends up being very confusing. But if, as we're talking here, there is a subcommittee that studies all different types, that's okay. But if we have a subcommittee here that says, for code, it should be X only. Now I've got a tool I can go to the architect and all that and say, the recommended one is this, for this application. And they'll give it some value because it's published now by IEEE and it's a recognized organization. Now, that's what we're aiming at as the difference. The subcommittees cannot do that because they have to be general studies. The specific one, we have to really, if we can do that, that would be excellent.
Thank you. No, wait. This first.
I think there are two benefits of having this kind of committee. One benefit is once the committee gets formed, there will be some technical papers that will be very useful for the industry. Not only for them, it may be for entire industry and other applications, because somebody has to explain why this has been recommended for the code. There are many things that I can say. I have done the work in the code. It's a special system. So somebody has to write that. In no place it has been written. No place it is written the characteristics of the load would tell me that. If they make a committee, I will have the paper for that.
I think our should be more financially viable if they start looking at it cross-cuttingly and think about how they're adopted in business and government. That's not what seems to be happening in this government.
Oh, wait a minute. You were going to give it to him.
Yeah, I just wanted to precaution, because when we argue on this one here, this is look like a subset of some subcommittees work. Okay, and then that basically we understand the importance. However, from the whole committee point of view or for the society point of view, they may come back and say, okay, well, why not just put in a working group, not a subcommittee or committee. Okay, so we have to be very careful when we try to make this kind of working over there.
Well,
this is basically just basically from the political point of view, when we try to look at it, that basically they can come back and say, okay, then this is a specialized issue, is that right? So why not just hold a working group? Then it's going to basically not break the subcommittee's level.
Anybody else?
Or you.
Okay. I think we are running into a time constraint here. Go ahead, Jim. This is a rather undisciplined but very important point.
Just responding to what Wei Jian was just speaking about. Yes, it could be a working group, but I mean, to be able to go to engineers in the educational community, the healthcare community, or the ports community and say, actually, we're a subcommittee.
Well, actually,
hold on.
To the committee level.
We're
Because we try to make them work. And I don't. That is not in that way. We have to protect ourselves. We are the same boat. I'm not on the office side. I just try to make sure when I go out, to the society level, and they will not push me back, say, okay, well, this, remember when we try to go on this one here, I basically try to push this one to the committee level, not on the subcommittee.
You know, arguably, we were really just getting started. I mean, we couldn't even get a room. And so, because I think some of Jim and I have been so busy with the 2016 conference, and I've been working a lot with ANSI a lot for the past couple of years. It's not going to go away. We haven't had a lot of time, frankly. Arguably, we just launched last meeting. So I think you need to give us a year or two to make this work. And it will work, or it's going to go elsewhere. Trust me. Anybody, Massimo?
And so it's very important that at the end, forward. This, the focus of management has to take care of this technological confidence, but we today can find the problem of the technology. So the idea has to be just to change the vision in a dynamic process. We can develop this technology as to work with
Government technologies is a $300 billion annual spend, period. We have some, I'm a little weak on administration, so I'm going to let Jim, we actually had an agenda here, but I think all the discussion I heard was good, passionate discussion, and I think that's probably at least as important as the administrivia, but there is certain things we have to go through. So I'm going to give Jim and Kent, who seem to be a little bit better at this. Remember, I'll only add that we do meet twice a month, 2 times a day. Every Tuesday, we have a European and a United States or Americas-based teleconference. And I get 1 or sometimes 2 or 3 or 4 are calling in. I see a couple other people here. So we're not always starting from scratch. So while we might have missed up on the administrivia at this meeting, we got all the passion that I think is necessary. And we can do some of the administrivia at our next one. I want to remind people that I'll be in Geneva at the Public Policy Conference, and I will hold this same teleconference from Geneva at the regular Tuesday time, however. So you're welcome to call in, just like everybody, if you're able to call in every day or all of the E&H committee meetings. And I also told Giuseppe that if you want, I can get you set up with a port page. Go ahead, Jim.
Mike was saying, with the arrangement of this meeting today was difficult at best. We sent out emails saying it was going to be at 3:30 because I thought that's all we could get. Mike was able to get this one this morning. But anyway, we thank you all for being here today. We got a schedule. This group face-to-face meeting will next be meeting at the Industrial and Commercial Power Systems Conference in Detroit, May 1 to 5, 2016. At that conference, we've got a number of papers we're going to be trying to present in our third concurrent session. We got a panel session that I'm almost positive will be coming together with providing power to medical imaging systems. A subject that even in my opinion or observation, even the manufacturers of those systems don't know how those power systems, what those machines actually operate, how they operate, and why they need the size sources they end up using. So we thank you all for coming in today. We're going to try to get some minutes out of this meeting ahead of time, which we didn't do last time. And
you'll have the YouTube recording.
And got the YouTube recording, and the piece of paper that Mike has passed out has the webpage address on it. And that's where you can make the observations for, get the notices for the bi-weekly teleconferences. Also, it's a place that if you have issues you would like to put before these communities about upcoming codes or standards or whatever, you can post it there. So I think that's all the administration needs to do. Is there anything else you need to do?
Just on the topic of paper, there are a lot of topics here. The policy paper actually has the drafts due to either Katie Hernandez or myself by the 1st. I think Wyden is pushing it to December 1st.
Yeah, I heard it 2 days.
Right. No, what's published on the website is November 1st, but I don't see a problem pushing it to December 1st. It should be published.
Is it full paper or is just the abstract?
Full paper.
Full paper in 2 weeks?
That's why you can push it to December 1st. And it doesn't have to be the final paper. The final paper will be uploaded to manuscripts and for review until February.
Okay, once we get an ISBN number. Okay, so.
But please send them to either Andy or myself.
Okay.
So they don't, doesn't the call for paper say message?
No.
No.
No, they changed that. We went back and forth on that. Louis, remember how Louis?
So so I'm glad we had this clarification. So all papers will go to Kent. Everybody understand?
Okay, excuse me, it does say Rasheed. Okay. Either Rasheed or myself.
And the paper was actually it's to Rasheed because you put it on the whole paper.
Okay, I think we're running over our time. Thanks for your. This YouTube clip will be up in about a week or so, less than a week. Thank you. You want to? You want to come over here? If he needs to, it's a Word document. You could cut over to mine. Yes.